All right. I think we are live, La Familia. Welcome to the Sunday Zen. This is a thing we do. Hey, first of all, I just got a quick call to action. I see everybody here, Healing Hands, Janet, Kelly, Rebecca Davis, Angela Dupuis, Kathy H. You can chat live here because this is initially live, but then it's there on the replay. So I'd love it if you left a comment on the show, either after the fact or now. Hit like, shared it with someone because it really helps get this thing out there. Because you guys know when I start talking about anything that isn't COVID, the algorithm hates us because it just wants to keep us talking about nonsense that really ultimately isn't important. Okay. What is important is the only thing that ever is, ever was, ever will be. And it's this very moment that we're sharing together now. And if I could do nothing else with my life but sit here live with a group of like-minded people sharing this and just pointing from presence at presence, honestly, there's nothing else to do. Which sounds crazy, but that's just how it is. That's how it's showing up right now. Now, tomorrow, it may be like, oh, I don't want to do that anymore, but that's what it feels like. So what I wanted to kind of spend the Sunday morning talking about, what is the date? August 25th already. My kids have been in school for a couple weeks already. It seems like summers get shorter and shorter. And again, it just points right back to, well, then what do we ever really have? We don't have the past summer. We don't have the next second. We only have, and even to have it, it doesn't even make sense because there's nobody having it. There's just the perfection of the unfolding in this moment. And what I wanted to talk about today, or point at, because it's impossible to talk about. The words kind of fail. Their words by definition are going to fail because they set up a subject and an object and an experiencer and experience. But what I want to talk about today is how we live most of our lives, especially in an election year, sort of in a complicit matrix of thought. It's an imagination world. It's this imaginal universe that we create together. It's like a shared hallucination. So in this hallucination, there's a presidential election. There's all kinds of stuff going on in the world. There's our job and our obligations and the environment and the economy and all those things that we can communicate to each other about. It's kind of a shared story. But what happens when, and listen, that's as real as you want it to be. You can fully embody that story in any moment. Fully. You can completely believe it. You can exist in that world and be as successful or unsuccessful as you're going to be. And it's totally fine. You don't want to make this matrix some kind of enemy because it's not. We live in it. It's where our kids and our loved ones and our pets are. It's where our parents are. It's where our worst enemy is. And all of that is a hilarious, fun, beautiful, tragic, comic existence that we can, as Shakespeare said, all the world's a stage and we're merely players. And yet here we are strutting on the stage. You can do that as much as you want, but when you find yourself suffering, which inevitably is the final common pathway of exclusively identifying with that matrix, believing that's all there is, that's when it may make sense. You may feel called to go a little deeper into what this moment actually is. And that's why I titled this From Head into Heart, because it may be as simple as pop, noticing that you're in the matrix and dropping attention into something that isn't the thought matrix. And that's as simple and accessible as your body, as the sensations in the chest, as the feeling of your feet on the ground. If right now you took your hands are free, and you put them right on your heart, and you feel the warmth and the pressure of your hands, and if you say some words, you feel the vibration of the chest. And we drop our attention just into that. That itself is liberation from suffering in this moment, in this immediate moment. A microsecond later, you can be back in thought worrying about some project you have due, or reliving some argument you had with a friend that you regret, or that you wish you had said this or that or the other thing. And then back into the body, just like that. And when the body's energy is experienced just as what it is, open, boundless, can you really find a boundary that isn't a thought? Indescribable. The more you keep attention in that field of sensation, it isn't even a body anymore, is it? It's just this field of sensation. The more you do that, the more that field opens up. The more dimensions it seems to gain, the more depth, the more alive it starts to feel. It feels like aliveness itself. So stay in that space. As a practice, stay in that space when you're talking to someone else. My good friend Simon Brown in the UK just did a video on this on his channel, Awake Here and Now. It was called 2 Tips for Staying Present with Others. And it's such a brilliant video because the 2 tips are so simple. I'll let you watch the video, but I'll just say tip 1 is stay in the body when you're talking to someone and watch what happens. Because when we're here, always anticipating, okay, what are we going to say next? Always analyzing, what are they saying from the head? This is that imaginal matrix space of thought, where thought's going to thought's going to thought, and it is make-believe world. It's a dream. So if this is a dream space, what else is here that is anchored in presence, that can't be other than what it is? It's this, the body, the sensations, the visual field, coming back to your senses, but starting with the body. So Simon points to, well, what if you're sitting there making eye contact, but your attention is fully in the body, and in a sense, you're hearing with the body, which, as I mentioned before, when you really drop into those sensations, they don't have an edge. They don't have a boundary. You can't actually find an experience in sensation, a separation between you and the rest of the environment, including the person you're talking to. So what ends up happening? I've been trying this lately, and it is pretty remarkable. You just melt into the moment, and then the words that come out of your mouth are just exactly what's needed. And I can't explain it more than that. It's not some secret manifestation. It's not some trying to control the world by some mindfulness process. It's not some McMindfulness bypass where you're avoiding your problems. It's fully diving into the sense fields, which are one big giant sensor in a way, and connecting fully with the person or persons in front of you in a way that is beyond thought. And yet it accommodates thought, yet it allows thought, yet it allows planning and memory and strategy and all that. That's all welcome there. But it's not the primary thing. The primary thing is this indescribable thisness. Barbara Wheeler says, who knew imaginal was a real word for me? It's not really. There are these things, and the reason I use the word imaginal is I used to work with fruit flies, Drosophila melanogaster, at Berkeley when I was doing my honors research in genetics. I had to say honors research because the ego here that's still here still activates and is like, you need to let them know you did honors research at Berkeley, because otherwise they won't think you're good enough. Isn't that funny? So when I did honors research at Berkeley back in the 90s, the professor that I worked with, who was a huge mentor for me, to which I actually owe everything, because he wrote me a letter of recommendation that was really undeserved in my opinion, but I guess he felt it was deserved, and I was able to get into UCSF Medical School partially on the strength of that research and recommendation. But we studied Drosophila, and they have these, as an insect, they start in a larval form that some people call maggots, but we would call larvae, and they end up pupating and metamorphosing into a fly. And in the process, they have these cellular organ structures, these little developmental structures called imaginal discs that end up developing into these, like wings, like there's a wing imaginal disc. And what I would study is we would irradiate these larvae and induce mutations so that the wing imaginal disc would have specific mutations in proteins that would cause the wings to adhere together. And by studying the defects that might result, we could learn more about human integrin proteins that hold connective tissues together and may have a functional role in cancer and things like that. So that's where I found the word imaginal. Did you ask me to explain all that? No. Did I? Yes. Why? Because I'm right now in the body and that's what's coming out. Isn't that just kooky? Because if I was using my brain, I'd be like, why am I talking about this during a Sunday Zen? That's why I love comments, because they just trigger the total madness. Let's see. Marianne says, I had a friend who always used to say, when I was in the Navy, which he never was. I'm going to start doing that. When I was in Iraq, there are quite a few things that I learned, and then just never having been in Iraq. Kathy says, I went to the beach yesterday floating on my back with my daughter, just experiencing the clouds rolling by, the quiet of being in the water, our favorite thing to do together. And notice what you said, do together. So you're sharing presence. Because when you are really in the body, in your senses, feeling the water, seeing the sky, so you're in the visual sense, you're in the body sense, you're not so much in thought. Thoughts may happen. Thoughts roll by like clouds. You are present. There's no past, future. There isn't even present. There's just the indescribability of this moment and this moment and this moment, and they aren't even moments. So Chanath says, well, should I stop forming a view? Try to do that. Try to stop forming a view. See how that goes. That question naturally arises, right, when we talk about presence. Well, so often humans are up in their head and they formed a view like, oh, I'm a Democrat, I'm a Republican, I'm a Libertarian, I'm for Robert F. Kennedy Jr., I'm for Trump, I'm for Biden, I'm for Kamala, whatever it is. Isn't it interesting that we call Biden, Trump, Kennedy, but then we call Kamala by her first name? Seems a little double standardy to me, but so forming, and look at that, that was a view. So right then I formed a view based on my conditioning, recent experience, media input, social input, and a view was formed and I expressed it. Could I help that? Was I doing that? Those are the questions to ask. We can't control anything, and we don't, but there's an illusion that we do. And that's the functioning apparatus of the human ego, is to assume it has control, that it did a thing, and that it could do otherwise. And those three kind of assumptions drive so much of our behavior. So then we're out there seeking, we're trying to make things, we're trying to change things, all of that. And hey, that's naturally how it goes. You kind of, and to some extent, you want those things to happen because they're what's happening, and that's how society changes and so on. So should I form a view is a question from the standpoint of the one who thinks they could do anything or not do anything. So what happens if the question drops and the question of should I or should I not form a view falls away? And it's just the next thing that's happening, and you're fully present with it. So if a view is forming and you express it, you're fully present with it. Like recently I find myself sucked into the matrix of the Democratic convention, the Republican convention, the war in Gaza, the this and the that. And I can go along with that ride. I can express opinions. I can talk with my wife about it. I can talk with my friends about it. We can rant and rave about whatever our opinions are. And then it's also simultaneously seen, just through the practice of this and the falling away of a lot of identity structures, that, oh, isn't that funny how Zubin is taking a stand on this thing based on all the conditioning and all the rationale that arises in the moment. That's fine. And it used to be I would beat myself up for that. Like I would say, should I be forming these views? Everything is emptiness. Or, I've had these experiences in meditation or on psychedelics or just in the woods where it's like, dude, this is a cosmic joke. This is not real in the sense we think it is. It's a dream. It's a construction. It's a social matrix. Why the hell am I concerned about it? All that's fine. All that's true. But in that moment, what's arising is a deep concern for the well-being of the political structure of the country, or your concern for suffering wherever, right? What's wrong with that? That's what's happening. When we try to resist it, we're trying to bypass it by jumping into spirituality or into a kind of a bypass mode where we're like, oh, it's not real. How's that work out? Are you going to live in a cave for the rest of your life? Are you going to be outside of this matrix in which your loved ones live, in which you make a living, in which you're able to eat? We're born in a human manifestation. We're kind of stuck with it unless you're one of the lucky ones who gets to live in a cave in Tibet, which in my opinion is not very lucky, because then you miss out on the beautiful, tragic comedy of being a human. Every moment is a surprise, even when it's so fucking boring or so predictable you think, like, it's deeply mysterious. It's a deep surprise. How is it even happening? Where did it come from? Where is it going? These are the human questions that arise. And then it can be seen that it's all a cosmic joke. And isn't that hilarious? So come back into the body, into this form, into this world. Love, laugh, hate, all of it. And let it fall away and let the next thing be. Because the truth is you're not doing it, but also you're not doing it. It's such a paradox. It's beyond our ability to say it's this or that. In a sense, it's neither this nor that. That's as deeply close to truth as you can get, and you can never know fully truth from a human perspective because it's always going to be a story. So form a view. It's beautiful, and then see if it's let go of. See if it can be seen through, and then forms again. That's recently my journey has been this. All this seeking, all this stuff, all this cool experience, all this insight, purportedly. Who even knows what's going on? I know I don't know anything. And then it's right back to this. It all points you back. Every experience points you right back to this moment. Oh, it was always just this. Where are you trying to go? Where could you go? Love, laugh, hate. That's a new saying, Jennifer. That's right. Let it fall away and let the next thing be, Autumn. That's right. Taiwo says, every moment is a surprise, even if it's boring or predictable. Exactly, because it's a mystery. Where's it coming from? Enjoy the boredom. What is boredom? Another set of thoughts, another resistance to what is. Isn't that adorable? Isn't it absolutely adorable how we are? It's delicious. Even when it hurts, maybe especially if you're a masochist like I'm starting to be. I'm looking for suffering. Like I'm looking in myself, deep in the body, for where I'm holding, where I'm resisting, where there's a clenched fist, as Adyashanti used to say, resisting what is. And I'm seeing if I can maybe just notice it unclench. I can't do it. I can't surrender because I don't have control. I am just a series of thoughts and sensations and beliefs. I don't exist in that way. And yet I can experience myself as beautifully existent when I'm joking around with my teenage girls at dinner and we're laughing and making jokes at each other's expense and handling it like, whoa, what a gift, right? And I'll speak to this a little bit, like trusting the body. So when you let your attention go from thought, find yourself, and this is the practice. You're in the day and something's irking you or triggering you or something. Just right then, use it as a little car alarm that points you back. Go, okay, I'm going to drop in the body now. Where am I feeling this? Where am I feeling this? And then some story comes up and it's like, oh, okay, that's a story. Great. Let me drop back into the body. Where am I feeling this? Where am I feeling this? Where am I feeling this in the body? And just sense that. Sense into the body and let it tell you what's up. So the other day I did a VPZD show. Marty McCary sitting here, Vinay and I sitting there. Prior to the thing, we spent an hour hanging out, catching up, laughing, talking so much shit. And afterwards, we spent another couple hours out at dinner, talking so much shit, having fun, catching up. But there's a different vibe after dinner. And it was a much more embodied, less cerebral, kind of open vibe where we're talking about the deeper shit that has nothing to do with medicine or COVID or any of the shit that we talk about on the show. Now, while we were doing the show, I'm sitting right there and they're talking about, I don't know, lab leak or Biden's pricing, drug pricing, or whatever it is. And I'm sitting there feeling in the body. You can actually see me. If you watch the video, you can see this happening. It almost looks like I'm zoned out, but I'm actually zoned into the body. And I was just feeling and going, oh yeah. Yeah, body doesn't care about this. Not at all. Couldn't care less. Doesn't know anything. Doesn't know lab leak, not lab leak. Doesn't know what the answer is. Just knows that I'm right here, right now, experiencing these two having this conversation. And it was a beautiful, lively conversation. And occasionally a little thought would arise like, but let me play devil's advocate. And then the body was like, why? You don't know anything. Just shut up and sit here. It was really interesting. And that is not my operating system in the past. My operating system in the past is here, always trying to find the next angle or the next response or thinking about what the ramifications of what's said, et cetera. And yet I think if you watch the show, it's kind of the dynamic works out. I didn't need to say anything. I don't need to, and yeah, I'll make some jokes because that's what it seems to arise. But it's really quite mysterious when you let go of control. And maybe it's not good in the sense of what the Matrix wants, right? Maybe people are like, I liked you better when you did this one. The great thing is I don't care. So isn't that the point? It's you, isn't it? It's not about what others think of you. They're making up their story as they go. It's you. In a sense, you are the center of the universe in any moment. And when you really inhabit that, not in a narcissistic way, but you really inhabit that, notice how others start to open. It's very, very different. Autumn, welcome to the supporter tribe. Thank you for joining our crew where we do our live shows just for supporters and we talk about all the shitty things. It's great. So welcome, Autumn. You just click the little join button on YouTube if you want to join. Barbara says, I swing in and out of those two places. Yeah, that's how it is. It's fluid, right? So like if I'm talking to my accountant or something, it's here. But you know what's funny? Even on those calls, by the end of the call, I've dropped into the body and we're talking about these existential issues of like, God and no God and what's our purpose in life. And, these things just arise. You're talking to your accountant. I had a plumber come by a while ago and by the end of the visit, he fixed whatever, but we were energetically kind of exchanging. I'm in the body and what's happening? We're talking about the nature of reality. We're talking about the nature of suffering. We're talking about trauma with the plumber. So you would go, okay, that's not a typical Matrix thing, right? But that's what happens when two people are open enough and at least one is dropped into the body and presence and is experiencing the other as everything instead of as other and self. Diana says, but I'm so glad your ego is not dissolving completely or you might disappear from our gatherings. Diana, I've come close. If I'm being honest, like I have skirted with bypass many times. There have been many times when Bibble, welcome to the supporter tribe. So much fun seeing people join up because we know we're going to see them in comments and stuff when we do our lives for supporters. I have come very close in this journey when I've had insights where I'm like, why am I saying a word about any of this? Because it can't be spoken. It's so ineffable, and yet it's exactly this. Why would I talk about exactly this? It's obvious and also pointless for me to talk about, and it feels egoic to talk about, so I'm going to stop. And that lasts for, I don't know, a couple days, maybe longer sometimes, and then through no choice of my own, I am back fully just in this. And I'm like, but why? Well, what am I trying to avoid? I'm trying to avoid this. I'm trying to avoid the human experience by detaching. But the human loves hanging out in our group, doing our Zoom meetings that we do for supporters, where we talk about this, like everyone shares their experience. It's a little Sangha, a little Dharma meeting. And they're just amazing. We need, by the way, we're due for one. They're amazing. And I love it. So this is the thing. We avoid our humanity at our own peril. You can live a detached, kind of slightly deadened, bypassed life, but I don't think that's life. And it's fine if you do that. If that's what you're called to do, hey, who am I to say it's wrong, right? For me, it's wrong. It's not what's showing up here. Oh my gosh, Kathy H. got gifted a membership by Jennifer Santos. What incredible generosity. Thank you. Thank you, both of you. Let's scroll back here. Duet Martin says, in Africa, the line between life and the after is rather thin. I'm from South Africa, and I see good people over the Atlantic espouse the very same poison I once forced on my parents. God bless you, brother. It's just, we in the societal matrix are just as our conditioning tells us to be, right? So in a sense, it's like there's such a rising of compassion when you see that happening, right? Whether you're in South Africa or whether you're in Southern California, it's the same human experience. It's the same human manifestation with different conditioning, showing up with the same kind of delusion. And all that can arise in the face of that is compassion, ultimately. When you're clear, I think. When you're not clear, boy, you can get like upset about it. You can get butthurt about it. All kinds of stuff can happen. Let's see. Yeah, Mary, we're due for a Zoom meeting. Hi, Desiree. So even now, like if we're sitting, right, I'm feeling, if I'm describing my experience, there's this, and again, words will fail. So let's just do our best. Just so I can point a little bit to what I'm directionally trying to convey. In my hands right now is a kind of sense of almost like a excited energy, like, you know, the equivalent would be butterflies in the stomach, but it's like in the hands itself. And these words don't make sense, but I'm pointing at an energetic sensation where I think my hands are. If I'm making a mental thought-based map. And then when I let the thought-based map drop, it's just this nebula of pure excitement, pure energy. And it lights up the entire spacious area that I was calling body. And then I can focus on my feet, where I think my feet are, where my big toe is on the right. It's on the ground, on a carpet. But when I just feel that spot, it's again, it opens into a nebula of energy. And now if I open my eyes, I see the camera and my monitor behind the camera where I'm reading comments, and I see the lights in the room, and I see my computer monitor on the right. Those are all words and conceptual overlay. That's a proliferation of concepts. But what's really happening is indescribable, perfect this. And the body is part of it. All that excitement in the hands, that nebula of energy in the space now fills the entire area because there's no boundary. And the visual field itself is not separate from it. And words are coming out of my mouth and I don't know from where. I'm not sure what I'm even saying. And it's all felt to be exactly perfect. And not a single thought is required for this. None. And this is your birthright, this access to this moment. That's all that is. Eternally, it has been this. Right? And the traditions have pointed at this. Before Abraham was, I am. It's always been this. This radiant, open perfection. And I can tell you, I'm just narrating my experience. I don't know where it's coming from. There's a feeling in this moment that I don't want to move, that energy in the body is so perfect that there's no impulse to change, move, do anything. And there's no sense that I could. Stillness. In motion. Because the body is lit up. Absolutely ablaze with energy. That's it. That's your birthright. The body, the sights, the sounds, the tastes, the smells, the sensations, the thoughts, dancing perfectly now. It's all you, all of it. And it's also not you. And it's neither you nor not you. And the words fall into nothing in the face of this. Okay, I'm going to read some comments just because I think I have to. Otherwise, I'll just sit here smiling. Desiree Lane says, why is it that during our awakening, people show up trying their hardest to pull you backwards? Is it just me? So all kinds of things can seem to happen, right? Oh, this person's trying to pull me back into thought or into my head or into my ego. And can you even find that other person beyond the conceptual overlay that you're naturally doing? And are you even doing it? Like all your conditioning, that's just exactly what's happening, is the sense that you're being pulled away. And then we feel like, oh, it could have been otherwise. If only that person hadn't. So in a way, life is showing you exactly what you need to see. It's showing you what seemingly is obscuring this. And maybe that triggers you to like look in the body or realize an insight that was never a problem. And then even the term awakening starts to feel very squirrely. Really squirrely. Like I used to obsess over, did I have an awakening? Did I not have an awakening? It was what happened in 2012 an awakening? Was it not? What is Angela talking about with the awakening? And then at some point it just goes, it just deconstructs. And you realize, whoa. I remember one time I had this insight and I just started I started doing this and I was like, poor Zubin. Oh my gosh. He's so stressed about these things that aren't real at all. And it's okay, because of course he would be, because people are telling him it's real and he's telling himself it's real. It's just more concept, more thought, more story, and that's fine. And it's not a problem. But a self-compassion starts to arise, like, oh, it was never really needed. It falls away, it deconstructs. But what's left? Cup. You and I. Lights. Thoughts. That's what's left, is whatever is here. And it was never left because it's all there is. This is it. This. I keep saying it, this. Yeah, Jennifer says the word awakening seems bizarre to me. Yeah, and the thing is, but we have to talk. So people use the word because it's the closest thing we have. Because it's like you were asleep in this dream of thought and identification with mind. And then you wake up to realize, oh, I'm not that. That is an awakening. But at the same time, who's awakening? Is there a you that wakes up? Can you find that you? So then it starts to get a little squirrely, like, And then you just realize all words are trash at perfectly describing truth. They can't. They can directionally shoot your attention in a certain way until ultimately the realization is there isn't even attention, because who would be directing it? There's only what's arising. So even the sense that I've put my attention on that tree over there is a thought, is a belief. What really happened is tree appeared, thought appeared, I put my attention there. That's it. Everything is just happening absolutely mysteriously from nothing, made of nothing, vibrating in and as nothing. But the word nothing isn't what we think it means. It means no thing. But even that doesn't make sense. This is an alive potentiality that is the substance of everything, and it's not a substance. Do you see why, again, the words make no sense? So forget all that. Just come right here. Come right here into the body. Drop from your head into your heart and just feel. Alex Hansen says, so what if we kind of like the story and the narrative? I mean, life can be kind of fun after all. Life is beyond fun. I was talking to a friend the other day who isn't on some big spiritual journey, but probably was having, like many of us, a bit of a midlife crisis, changing jobs, those kind of things. And we started to dive into some of the deeper stuff. Like I had a recent experience with a kind of, it was actually an experience with seeing the truth about what death is, like really experiencing it viscerally and coming out the other side and realizing, oh, it's not at all what we think. Nothing to worry about. Totally a story, yet another experience, and then just laughter because, whoa. But this person told me, I'm actually terrified of death. And I said, oh, why? And they said, I didn't used to be, but more recently it started to arise, and I realized what it was. It's not that I'm afraid for my son or my spouse, because I think they'll be okay. I'm afraid for my elderly parents because I'm the only one helping them, taking care of them. And if I die, they're not going to do well. And this person started to get emotional. And I told them, I said, isn't that beautiful that we are afraid of death because we have these energetic bonds to this manifestation, to this story, to these apparent others in our lives. And that's perfect. That is the infinite potentiality showing up as fear of death because we love so much. Because we can't help but love this story. And I was feeling the same thing. I was like, I don't want to die, not because I'm afraid of death or annihilation or any of that nonsense that I used to be afraid of when I was young, because that's all seen to be horseshit. It's because I like the story. I love my kids. I love my wife. I love my mom. I love my friends. I love what I do. Why would I want to check out? It's like a great video game. It's like if my character dies, I'm going to lose all my shit. Of course. You'll be attached, and it's okay. Honestly, if I didn't have all those things, I would live in a cave and I would detach and I would dissolve into emptiness. Because what else is there to do? Well, in my life, as I'm sure in yours, there's so much more to do, and to do with full awareness, full presence, full embodiment, full love, full compassion, full surrender to every moment, and the opposite of all those things when those arise. It's Totally okay. It's not only okay, what a fucking gift that there's life at all. Because there could easily just be the potentiality. I've experienced that. I have experienced states where everything stops, where there's no time, no space, no me. Just, how do you even talk about it? Awakeness. Timeless awakeness. And I will tell you, it is so fucking boring. It's so, in a way, the opposite of everything a human really wants. And so seen from the human lens, it's like, nope, not interested. Glad I experienced it because I could see what reality is. And then I come back here and kiss the ground and go, thank God there's a manifestation. Thank God I can, get pissed off in traffic. And the thing is, the more this starts to happen, the more you have these realizations, the less pissed off you get in traffic. It's nuts. It's beautiful. It's mysterious. And we don't do it, but we can attune. I mean, there's an attunement that happens. And if you're called to it, if you're one of the people commenting here, one of the 106 odd people watching live that are commenting, you're already attuned to this. So you don't have a choice. Try to avoid it. See what happens. Fuck around and see what happens. Alex says, talking to Dr. Oh, is Ryan here? Ryan Southworth? Ryan says, awesome. Now you feel one way to fully surrender, and you don't need psilocybin necessarily, but you can use it as a tool. So Ryan is a physician, one of the most awake people I know. Listen to whatever he's saying in the comments. I'll go back and read them later. I'm going to be doing a series of shows on psychedelics because I've had these experiences. And I can tell you, here's the punchline. They're technology, they're tools to help you with certain fixations that seemingly don't dissolve no matter what you do, meditation, therapy, whatever you're doing. The psychedelics can sometimes help with that, but they are a tool. What they showed me was they took me on all these journeys only to unjourney me right back to this moment and go, see, you dumb fuck, it's always been this. What are you doing psilocybin and ayahuasca and 5-MeO-DMT and all these things? It's like, it's this. But if I hadn't done those things, I can't say that I would have seen so clearly that it's this. So it's the great paradox. Now, here's the trap with those drugs. Apart from safety concerns, which we'll talk about on the show that we do, they can show you experiences that then you can cling to and you can grasp at and you feel like they're real and they're telling you some insight. And yeah, insights are great and fun and all that. They're just more experience. It's all a light show. It's all in the service of pointing you back to the absolute visceral truth of the thumb and the forefinger rubbing together. That's it. This moment. There's nothing else in existence. Everything else is appearance, light show, and it's all happening now. So use them with the intent, if you can, the mindset and the right setting and the right guide to point you back to this. And that may mean that you have to go through trauma. It may mean you have to go through very early preverbal trauma that's encoded in the body. You may have to work with a trauma specialist. There's all kinds of things, right? And the psychedelics can be part of that. And then you can let them go. And you should, if you're able, right? Alex says, yeah, it felt like a cosmic joke, all the seeking for something other than this, when it's always been just this. It's always been here. I mean, you just said it. That's it, Alex. Everything. If no one reads any other comment, just read that comment because that is it. It's all seen to have just been the joke that it's always and eternally this. Whatever's showing up is perfectly fine. Even the showing up of the feeling that this isn't perfectly fine is perfectly fine. It's exactly all there is. There's nothing else to find. Where would you go to find it? Where would you avoid? Where would you go to avoid it? Where could you go? And who would go? These are the simple questions that'll point you right back to this. JK says, did you retire from your position? It would be very tough to operate in this space and return to a place when you're promoting big pharma and beholden to corporate overlords at Stanford. Oh, I haven't worked at Stanford since 2012. I haven't been beholden to corporate overlords since 2012. So yeah, I couldn't say this shit. No way. I mean, I could. They'd probably give me a lot of shit. I don't know about Stanford, but like there's plenty of corporate overlords that would give me shit. They could probably give me shit now. There was a time too when I was careful because I didn't want to offend people that I would go to be speaking for or something like that. And then I'd go and speak and I would tell them exactly what I thought. But now I don't even do that. I'm not even really doing speaking much anymore because I'm just not feeling drawn to do it. At some point it may arise again, but I'm listening to whatever this intelligence in the body is saying, and it's saying, you know, that's not it. It's probably just this for now. Which, you know, how do you make a living doing that? Well, it's hard. That's why the supporter tribe is so helpful, right? But, you know, my wife works and it's kind of like we saved money. It's like, well, I'm not going to be on the street, so why am I so stressed all the time about security? That's part of my Enneagram 6, right? Like if I'm being fully authentic, it's like so much of my life I worried about safety, security for my family, security for, you know, loyalty to people that I think supported my own security. That's like how the Enneagram 6 personality type is wired. And now I start to realize, you know what? I can trust myself. There's the security of the innate trust in the unfolding of everything that's just going to show up as it needs to. And I will have the impulse to do what I need to do. It'll just show up because I'm not doing it. So if an impulse arises to make a video, I make a video. If the impulse arises to do a project that might generate some kind of revenue, then I'll do that. But that's no longer the primary thing. It's now backwards. It's now like, oh, I'm just going to see what arises instead of trying to make things happen. This illusion that we can make things, or that I need to, that somehow I need to. So you could say, well, you have to be in a position in life to be able to do that. That's true. So all your life leads you to wherever you are. And at some point it shows up. Or it doesn't. It may be that in this life, that's not what's going to happen. And that's okay too. That's perfect as well. And it's not perfect in the way I mean, oh, there's no problem with it. It means it's exactly right. It's exactly how it has to be. Sandra says, happy YouTube alerted me. Been locked out of my locals account for a couple months. Need time to sit and focus on that. Sandra, email risa@zdogmd.com, RISA, and she can help you if you're having a problem with locals. Okay. Because we miss you. Locals is another place where we have supporter groups, locals.com. You can go to zdogmd.locals.com and sign up there as well. It's a great group. Whoa, Jay Case just sent $40. Wow. Here, see, I just manifested $40. I was talking about how I'm not making any revenue. And there you go, except for my supporters who are the best. Jay sent $40. Thank you for not blowing me off after that comment. Your answer is very inspiring and badass. Oh, Jay, your comment was very thoughtful. Like, I respect it. And I don't know, you know, in a way, I love it when, and yours wasn't really like that, but like, I love it when comments show up that are just straight, like, listen, bro, you're a scam. I feel like you're inauthentic. I don't like what you did with this or that, so-and-so and such. And I'm like, awesome. I'm glad to hear that that's the impression you're getting, because it makes me think about what am I, is there an element of truth there too, right? So let's talk about it. And it's a chance to actually communicate instead of just like shouting at each other in comments. It's really kind of awesome. Sienna says, I call it going with the flow. I quit my job at 12 years a year ago to be home again with my children. I still don't know how I do it, but I just do it and I trust I will. There you go. That's perfect. Congratulations. It's a huge deal. And it can be about as scary as anything, because we're so conditioned to feel that we have to do and control and plan, and doing and controlling and planning can just show up. It'll just show up. Hey, Katie, good to see you, listening and enjoying. Let's go back and see if I missed anything here. Yeah, Mary says everybody here is different. Exactly. And that's beautiful. Desiree says, counseling, even with my many different counselors, hasn't helped. I need to get my ass to Peru. Let me, and Alex, I'll get to your question about seeking energy in a second. Let me comment on that. You've got therapists, you've got helpers, Desiree, you've got other people, and if you feel like you're stuck, usually that stuckness is the impotence It is the kind of impulse that arises that means the next thing's going to show up. And when you're ready, the kind of teacher appears. It doesn't mean you have to go to Peru to do ayahuasca. It might just be like something shows up here. There's a new teacher, or there's a psilocybin journey with a guide here. It may not mean that you have to do all that. If you're feeling called and there are things showing up that are like, go to Peru, then by all means, listen to that. But be careful of the assumptions listening to other people that, oh, this is what I have to do to wake up. Because that's always someone else's story, and it's a story you're telling, and it's another identity that keeps you asleep, in theory. Because nothing really keeps you asleep because you're already awake. That gets squirrely. Alex, do you personally still feel any of the seeking energy? Absolutely. Hell yeah. It shows up like often when I'm distracted, like I'm reading the news or something, and I'm in my head about it, and I'm feeling I can feel the like signature of suffering or that friction of suffering. And then I'm like, oh man, God, I need to go meditate or, do some practice because I'm not there. I'm just not there. I'll never be there. Those thoughts just arise. And then they're kind of, the new thing that's here now is that instead of going, oh yeah, I got to go do that, it's like immediately like there's a movement towards the cosmic joke where it's like, oh, that's funny. Like I could be anywhere other than I am. Like, and then what's really weird, Alex, is meditation just shows up. So like I just go walk to the chair and sit, and then suddenly the body lights up like it was doing earlier when I was doing that practice with you. It's still lit up. And that'll just happen. But it no longer feels like seeking. It no longer feels like I'm doing it. And that's a huge relief. Now, there's still a lot that unfolds. There's still a lot of stuff that I think, and it never ends. It never ends. So if you think there's like a liberation point where everything ends, I've not experienced anyone who's had that. Even people who say they have. When I talk to them, when I'm with them, I can feel that it's not true. So yeah. So enjoy it. Embrace it. It's a journey. The whole thing's a journey, and it's mysterious and beautiful. Autumn is not wrong about corporate overlords. Leslie says, waking up is just becoming aware that you're awake. That's it. It's just kind of knowingly being present. You're always present. Sarah says, I was called to Peru, but not called to do drugs while I was there, and our guides were actually discouraging it. Just being there was transformational enough for me anyways. Just perfect. Absolutely perfect. So much of this is just, you can just do it with the right set and setting. You don't need any medicine at all. Scarlet Center with Melinda says, if Aya is your teacher, ayahuasca, she will find you. Like Z said, the right teacher for the right moment will find you. No need to force it. Exactly. And when she finds you, she will school you in whatever you need to know. You'll go in thinking, oh, I want this, and you will get what you need, not what you want, not what you think. You will get what you need. And it is heavy and beautiful and horrible and perfect. That's my experience. It's just really phenomenal and horrible. That was physically. I would never give up that experience for anything. So powerful. And that's the thing. You start to lean into discomfort. You start to look for the hidden things. You want to see things that hurt because they've been repressed. And there's a natural movement to see everything as it is, because in its deepest sense, it's not harmful. It's what we make of it that makes it seem harmful. And that's the resistance that causes suffering. And honestly, that holds us from insight, because we're bound in this resistance rubber band. When that starts to release, because you're going to the places that hurt, I mean, this is what they call shadow work, the insights come very clear and naturally and simply. Salma Ali says, there is a beautiful expression of both your dual and non-dual personality, Z-Dog MD. That is, you know what? I don't know why that made me feel so lit up, that comment. I think because it honors exactly what we're saying, which is this manifestation and the absolute truth are not two. And if you can see both in everyone in this moment, in everything, every apparent thing, that's really it. It's really as simple as that. So I really appreciate that. I don't know if it's true because it's impossible for me to know anything, but I appreciate it. Leslie says, I became awake through my teaching during DBT. I was taught to seek wise mind, which opened me up and awakened me, thank God. See, everyone has their path, right, Leslie? Jesse says, what's your opinion about cell phone bans in school? Do they help with the things you're discussing? This is really interesting. I'm actually going to be interviewing one of the producers of The Social Dilemma in the next couple of weeks on the show, and we're probably going to talk about some of this stuff. But the cell phone ban in school, I don't know the details of it. I'll say it's probably well-intentioned because it's saying, okay, here's the problem. These children are addicted to these devices, and they're distracting. They create this kind of cyberbullying permanent sphere. They create FOMO and all senses of like, oh, I'm supposed to fit this particular body image. They're sort of dumbing down the culture. They're doing, all the kind of shit they used to say about television. Like I used to watch hours of TV as a kid, hours, because it was my babysitter because both my parents were doctors and they were in training and they were working all the time. So the TV was my life. I know more about 80s pop culture than most people. And I turned out okay, I guess. Maybe I could have been smarter, better, more successful, whatever that means. Now, this, though, is a little different because we're seeing the outcomes in children, more anxiety, more suicidality, especially in girls. So I think what I would say is, what I would love to see is them study it in a prospective way, in a randomized way, actually, because any observational study is going to be biased by selection bias and so on. But I think this. I think kids are in the end are going to be resilient. One way or the other, they'll figure shit out. But I would not object to a cell phone ban in class because why the hell do they need them? Just take them away. Let them focus. Let them learn to be present. Let them be bored. Because here's the thing. Boredom is so fucking powerful. It's such a powerful pointer, such a teacher. When you're bored and restless, and you don't know what to do, and you're looking at the clock every 5 seconds trying to just tick, tick. Do you remember this being in school? Like people in Gen X, there was no distractions. Like our distraction was you make like a rubber band slingshot and you nail it, the chick in front of you because you're trying to get her attention because you're in love with her. Like that was distraction. You didn't have phones or any devices or anything. So you would have to sit with boredom because the teacher's boring. You've already tuned them out. It's like, well, all right, I'm bored. So what happens when you really sit with boredom? Man, a couple things can happen. You can learn to have imagination. You can enter that imaginal world, which is fine. That's one solution. Or you start to, what if we taught these kids, if you're bored, focus on different body parts, drop your attention into the body and see what happens. And we could be teaching this stuff in schools at an early age. Now, I actually think kids need to form a healthy ego. They need to go through the fucking matrix, learn that they're being fed shit, all different flavors all the time before they spit the shit out and realize I don't want this. They have to go through that. You can't bypass it. So in a sense, yeah, I mean, this is a long way to say I have no fucking idea. But personally, I think my intuition is that it's a good thing. Piece of Old says, I think you sent me an email. Yeah. I first heard you talk on this here and there, free will. I largely come to feel that we don't really have it. But how would you explain when we pick up a hand, lick a finger, wiggle a toe? Seems like we're choosing that. Oh man, why you got to go into the deep shit? P. Diddy. Okay. Free will is amazing because we absolutely feel like we have it. Like I'm going to move my finger. Who did that? Me. It totally feels like there's someone in my head controlling my finger. And that's the simplest action, right? I'm totally in charge of that, right? Well, when you actually investigate and you look for the doer of that, you can't find it. And you could explain it by all the causes and conditions of the universe are just showing up as a decision that arises. Decisions happen, you're just not making them to move the finger. But there's a felt sense based in belief in sensation and in millennia of conditioning that I did that. And guess what? That's fine. If that felt sense is arising, it's as real as anything. Might as well say we have free will. But then we can look through and see that there's absolutely no free will. And then you can go one step further into the truth. Let's do that for a second. Just drop into this moment. As a perfect, empty, radiant potential. And everything that's happening is a radiance, like a froth on the foam of this ocean, but it's made of the same oceanic ocean water. In this place, everything is just radiantly appearing and dissolving and appearing, and they're not even appearing and dissolving. It's just exactly what it is. And then a question arises. Do I have free will? And it's seen to be total nonsense. There is neither free will nor the end of free will. There is neither self nor no self. None of it is absolutely true, because the absolute truth is this: beyond all concept, all story, all label, all sense, all future, all past is this radiant, empty, awake aliveness that is eternal and beyond all. And here, free will is just another bird that flutters and disappears in the sky that's eternally this. And also, I totally fucking have free will, right? Because I know. The cosmic joke, my brothers and sisters, and non-binary mistas. Leslie, thank you for the $10 super chat. You are so awesome. Quirky Dave, no cell phones. What problem are they trying to solve, and does it? Often I find the intent is good, but we get lost and forget the why. Yeah, I agree with that. Jason says, I'm eating so much food. My God, I'm an animal. God bless you. I love food. Although I got to say, like, eternally this, eating food like a madman, right, Jason? Lately, I'm supposed to go to a wedding next week in San Diego, and I'm only there for like hours. And I haven't worn like nice clothes in forever because I haven't been doing talks and stuff. And even when I did, I would wear jeans and then like a shirt and maybe a blazer. But I had to buy a suit pant that goes with this blazer or this jacket that I have, and find a tie and all that shit. And I've been wearing like, you know, elastic like shorts and just really loose shit all the time because I don't have a real job. I have this, and I take my, you know, I spend a lot of time driving for work, but then also I have to help kids with their errands and stuff like that. So I'm not used to wearing anything that doesn't have an elastic waistband. So I get this, that's my size. I put it on and I'm like, oh shit, this is tight. And I realized, you know, I'm probably eating more than I'm burning off these days because I'm going to the gym and I increase my protein intake, and I've noticed my strength is getting better and all that, but I'm also gaining fat. And the only way I found out is I was, you know, I couldn't fit into this. Like, I mean, I could fit into it, but it was like, so I started to realize maybe I'm, you know, one of the things that's arising, and I'm using food as a bit of a distraction. Maybe I should pay more attention to what I'm eating. And so that's what I'm starting to do. So yeah, that's that. Now, is that free will? Don't know. Doesn't feel very free. Diana, I was going to thank you for being you, but there is no you. And yet there is you, right? Like, that's why I'm going to thank you for being you. You are one of the best always showing up in the supporter Zooms all the way from Lisbon. So attuned to this. It's just wonderful to be with you. Christopher, have you participated in anyone's death, not doc assisted? Well, as a doctor, yes. Yeah, but not recently, except for my father's death, and that was at a distance. I'm going to talk more about that in the near future, by the way. Yeah, Jason, is a sacred moment of recognizing impermanence and change. Exactly. Like, oh man, what the hell? I need to go on the cut here. Mary Ann Scanlon says, and you're 50 now. I feel your pain. Retired, and I'm looking for an outfit for my son's wedding. Arg, I hate shopping. I know. It's something. Kat Jint says, are you gaining fat or just muscle mass? I think both. The fat is just because, we've been on vacation and probably have not been eating right. Been letting myself eat what I want. But then going to the gym a lot and eating, using whey protein supplementation, because I realized my protein intake wasn't high enough because I was eating 1 meal a day. So now I'm eating more like 2 meals a day with the whey, and then sometimes I'll have a snack and then dinner, and I think that's part of it. It's just not probably good for my keeping a stable weight as I get older, because now I'm actually 51, so it's like the metabolism probably slowing down a bit. Probably can't do those things anymore, which is fine. That's the other thing, is I was like, well, I don't mind, except then I got to push myself into this suit, and then it just is uncomfortable. And then I'm like, that's enough motivation to go do it. Healing Brain says the governor of Virginia has issued a cell phone free education to K-12 for public schools. Big change that kids don't like. Yeah, of course the kids don't like it. Here's an anecdote. I've been watching this show on Netflix that just came out called Cat's Eye, like Pop Star Academy. And it's about, they're trying to create the K-pop model in the US with Geffen Records and Hybe, which I think does like BTS or some shit. And so they take these girls, they cast them that have certain talents like dancing, singing, star power, all that. And they're trying to create a girl group called Cat's Eye. And they're kind of training them to do this, and it's this cutthroat thing, and they're competing against each other and all this stuff. It's a great show, actually, if you want to see how kind of the music business works. It's fucking brutal. And I won't give away too much. It's not giving away too much. But at some point, there's this big drama that happens, which of course is constructed because it's a reality show, where these girls get in big trouble from the trainers that are from the record labels that are doing this, because they were posting on their private Instagrams like unreleased music and different things that they were doing. And they signed a contract saying, I will not post anything about any of this on any social media. And these girls are like, this is what they want. This is their desperate life's heart's desire, is to be a famous pop star. And they're training for 20 hours a day and getting injuries and, sacrificing so much. And collectively, they couldn't resist posting on Instagram. They couldn't resist it. Like, it could ruin their careers, and it did for one of them. They got eliminated from the show because they instigated this thing and the group joined in. They couldn't stop. And to me, and they would say, this is just what girls our age do. We're on Instagram. And that to me was like, so you're addicted. Like, this can ruin everything you dreamed of, and you can't stop doing it. Like, that's addiction. So I think there's a huge problem with social media addiction. And so phones, in a sense, taking them away during class, I don't know. Whenever I go on meditation retreat, one of the big advantages is my phone is gone. I don't look at it. I don't use it. And that in itself is a huge relief. It's like, wow, I didn't realize how addicted I was to this piece of shit. So I don't know. But then can you have a policy that will fix it that way from top down? I don't know, because you're not hitting the root, which is the culture that's really encouraging this, and parents that are allowing it, and all of this. Good luck, trying to keep your kids off this stuff. It's really hard. I know now I have 2 teenage girls, and they're pretty good, but it's like man, this is a challenge. Yeah, Chanath, it's ongoing unbinding. I can't stop it. Exactly. It just keeps unbinding. You keep unbinding from delusion in every moment. All right. I think we did a thing. How long have we been talking for? Wow. 116 people here on a Sunday. That's nice. And let me just see. An hour and 9 minutes. I think that's probably plenty long. So what's the punchline again of all this? If I was going to say one take home from this thing, it's in the title. Dropping from your head, where we're thinking about this moment. And in our head is where the entire social matrix is. It's where like everything exists. Gender, politics, history, future, roles, identity, they're all there in that thought matrix. So what happens when we allow attention to settle, when appearance starts to just be body, just be sights, just be sounds, just be sensations and tastes and smells? When it's there, in a sense, we're dropping from head to heart. Heart being this is the heart of existence. It is everything, including thought, and it includes thought. It's the space in which all this happens. So this field of energy that we label as body, when the labels drop and we're just in it, earlier in the video we did this, it's extraordinarily liberating. And it's really, if you did no other practice, you just did that routinely, anytime you notice suffering, anytime you're with another person, try it. Drop into the body and listen from the body. Just make eye contact and listen, full attention in the body. You're going to hear what they're saying in a totally different way, and you're going to respond in a different way. Looking at the last comments. Yeah, good comments on the phone stuff. It's really, really, the first retreat I ever did, I wanted to throw my phone in the bushes at the end because it was such a clear insight that this thing is a poison. You know why? This is the matrix. It is. It's an expression of the thought-created matrix, and it holds our attention. It's almost like thoughts crystallized into this. What is news but thoughts crystallized into this? What are messages but other people's thoughts crystallized into this? Now we're living in thought world in a physical way. It is poisonous. Put it down as much as you can. Put it down more than you pick it up. See if you can do that. I know it's hard because it's addictive. Just like thought itself, thought is addictive. Notice you're going into thought. It's an addiction. Addiction meaning we're just behaviorally conditioned to go back and back and back and back, seeking a reward that never is enough. Because thought can never fulfill our dreams, can never fulfill this moment. It's just an appearance. And in fact, as an appearance, it's perfectly this moment. If we don't identify with it, it's even more perfectly this moment, even though it can't be more perfect because it's already perfect. All right, gang. Oh, I'm glad I got your name right, Chanath. Okay. Love you guys. Thank you. Thank you for spending your time here. Please, after the show is over, leave a comment of what you thought or what you think or what you're going to do in the comments on the main YouTube, not in the chat. It helps the algorithm a lot. Hit like or dislike, whatever, if you don't like it, and share it with your friends. And we'll see you next time. If you want to join our supporter tribe, zdogmd.com/supporters. We're going to do these Zoom meetings we do every couple weeks or so, where we talk about this and we share stories, experiences. They're not stories, they're experiences. This is what I'm experiencing on this road, this unbinding process. All right, I love you guys. And how do I do this? We are out. Peace.